A 78-year-old man had been using a medicine for years, claiming it helped him quit smoking. But when he began experiencing hypokalemia, which is low potassium levels, and hypertension, he went for a checkup, only to discover that the real cause of his problem was that very same medicine. That medicine, it was licorice, or what we call mulethi in India. Mulethi is widely used in soft drinks as a sweetener and features in many traditional medicinal systems. But here's the twist, the story that I just mentioned is not fictional. It's a real case study published in a research paper. I'll leave the link to it in the description so you can check it out yourself. But before we dive into the risks, let's explore why licorice became such a trusted remedy in the first place. Take a look at this paper. It mentions that in Chinese medicine, 9 out of 10 formulae contain licorice. Even the World Health Organization recognizes its use as a demulcent for sore throat and coughs and as an expectorant for bronchial kata, meaning inflammation of the bronchial tubes. In fact, some papers claim that the phytoconstituents in licorice may help reduce the risk of heart problems, cancer, and even diabetes. So now you must be wondering, if licorice is so beneficial, then why the dramatic introduction? To answer that, here's a fascinating look at how licorice affects your body in ways you might not expect. There are two hormones in our body, aldosterone and cortisol. They are very similar in structure. Aldosterone's job is to maintain blood pressure by retaining sodium and excreting potassium. Cortisol, on the other hand, is responsible for things like metabolism, immunity, and stress response. Normally, the kidneys inactivate cortisol using an enzyme called 11 beta HSD2 so that it doesn't interfere with aldosterone's work. But here's the twist, one of the key components of licorice, glycyrrhizin, inhibits this enzyme. As a result, cortisol doesn't get inactivated and instead starts acting like aldosterone. So, what happens next? The body loses potassium, leading to hypokalemia, and retains sodium, leading to hypertension. In simpler terms, think of cortisol and aldosterone as two look-alike hormones. Usually, the kidneys check their ID and let only aldosterone do its job. But glycyrrhizin disables the ID check, so cortisol sneaks in and starts acting like aldosterone, messing things up. Now, let's look at the bigger picture. There have been numerous studies examining the health risks of licorice, and the three most consistently reported issues are hypokalemia, which is low potassium, metabolic alkalosis, which is increase in blood pH, and hypertension, which is high blood pressure. Here's the paper from which I took that case study. Look at the very first line. It lists all three disorders caused by excess licorice. At this point, you might think, well, that's just one person, maybe it was an exception. But since 1966, researchers have conducted multiple studies on this topic. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this. The paper here, linked in the description, summarizes nearly 60 years of research on licorice and its effects. To give you a snapshot, 69% of the papers found a link between licorice and metabolic alkalosis. 76% found a link with hypertension, and a staggering 95% reported a link with hypokalemia. Even more interesting, recent studies show that licorice is often related to all three of these issues. Let's talk briefly about hypokalemia and why it's so dangerous. It can affect your nervous system, your cardiovascular system, and even cause muscle weakness or cramps, which is why you'll notice this column in the paper that also lists muscle disorders. In fact, hypokalemia can worsen metabolic alkalosis as well. But here's the key message. Moderate occasional use of licorice, like in herbal tea or traditional recipes, especially with medical guidance from a professional, usually does not cause these issues. The real danger lies in chronic high dose intake, especially without medical supervision. It's crucial to understand that natural herbs are powerful, but that doesn't mean they're always safe. Ancient remedies can be amazing, but they're not always harmless. If you enjoyed this story where science meets tradition, don't forget to like, share, and hit that bell icon for more content like this.